Hey guys, what is going on? It is Ando, and we are back with another Ando story time. Is what we've kind of dubbed this. It's a fun little segment. I'm gonna explain it because it seems like sometimes people don't get it in the comments. So it is essentially a roster review mixed in with a little bit of news, and really the main intent of it is we all have a kind of a story to tell in this game, what we've been doing, what we're gonna be working towards, and it's always nice. The best part about this game, in my opinion, is the community. It's always nice to hear where people are going, what they're angling for, how they're doing it. And I think I'm somewhat successful in the way I'm doing it, but there's certainly times where I get key elements from other people, and I'm like, that's a good idea. I should implement that, or I should try and do that. And sometimes I have to curb my expectations a little bit, but that's just sort of, again, what this is all about. It's going to be like a roster review, also a news recap of what happened the past week. And really, I want it to be a fun kind of thing where you come in, you hear some things, maybe you take a few things, and again, you guys push out some things to me, and we kind of go from there. And really, where I want to start off this week, and that's probably going to be the caption of this video, is let's start with the news, because there was actually a lot of news. And if I'm usually a straight shooter, guys. Like, I think this week CG took L's after L's, and we paid for it too as the community of players, right? So quickly, we'll just kind of go through like all the details that we got. And we'll start off, right? So we got Marok. Again, not going to do kit reveals here. Really, it's kind of cool. He's a mercenary. He's an Inquisitorius. He's got a TB on me, and that's going to make the mission really easy. So if you are, I anticipate within a year or so, right? Like, people will start gunning for Marok faster because he's going to alleviate the remod crunch, the knowing exactly what turn order you have to have done, all these other things, right? You're going to slap an Ami on him, and you're going to just get your Riva shard. Yes, it's going to expire just because once you've got your Riva shard, like, who cares? It's nice for the currency, the shard shop currency, but other than that, it's like that's an Ami that you're never really going to get back. We see that sometimes with these PvE ones where it's like, the raids, there's just never going to be a time where you get that back. But again, it's probably worth some of the headache, and especially for the newer players who don't have the mod inventory that a lot of people have, it's kind of required to kind of do that mission. Or like if you've got like the less engaged player, right? That doesn't want to sit there and look at an infographic to know, like, okay, well, this stun happened. What do I do with it now? It's like, just add the Ami, just score your Riva shard and call it good. So that's a good thing. I think, again, it's not going to help anyone, I think, in the near term, right? Because it just takes a while for these characters to come out, and then you got to farm them, then you got to gear them, right? And all these other things. But I think eventually, right, people will start to kind of build him up faster, just knowing what they've got to do. Just like people eventually knew geos were a thing for Wat Tambor shards, etc., right? So yeah, very interesting there. I was looking around for like, hey, does this fit in a Riva squad? It doesn't look like it's horrible. I just don't know who they would kick out. The cleanse is probably the most applicable thing that I found in there. But again, I just don't know who you take out in the first squad, or like in our current squad. Maybe once I see the damage output or something like that, maybe that changes. Maybe we just don't need 8 brother or something like that. So yeah, maybe, who knows? But yeah, Marok came out, and he's going to come out, and that's where we kind of have him with the kit reveal. I will say this though, spoiler alert, he's not coming out this week because of some of the losses that I've previously alluded to with CG this week. So we also did get a calendar. No real notables here. Right? I don't really ever like go through and be like, oh my god, we only got 8 assault battles this month. I don't really know that. I don't keep track of it. I think we did get 8 actually this month. But here's the thing, right? October, we're gonna have Dengar. That should be a really clear indication that sometime this month we're going to get the punishing one. I'm going to assume that it's going to be next week. Now that might change just because they have now sort of moved the Marok, whatever it's called, the marquee event. So it should be interesting to see where that is. But again, as I've been saying, guys, it takes about 5,000 to 6,000 crystals. So make sure you don't spend up to that. Make sure you got some sort of plan to get that, especially if you are owner of Executor. That's a very important thing, right? These ships that have come in recently, especially to established fleets like Marauder to Negotiator, even the Rose Tico like Bomber, to the the Radis fleet. These have been good ships. They have transformed that fleet into something bigger than what it was before. Again, I would expect that to be the case here with Punishing One. And the other thing that I've also seen is like, well, I just don't have Executor right now, so I'll just farm up that ship later on. Guys, it's also a better and faster farm if you do it this way. Like, most likely this ship will end up in some sort of fleet node or something like that, where you're gonna have to spend crystals to refresh it. It's gonna be only a couple drops a day, right? And then it's gonna be a long thing. So like, if you can get those crystals right now, hoard them up, and then kind of mass your efforts on it, you get a 7-star ship. Everyone knows that 7-starring ships is just super painful. They never get accelerated. It just benefits you guys, even if you don't have Executor, even if Punishing One literally doesn't work with any other fleet. It's just better because eventually you will get Executor, and eventually you will thank yourself that you don't have to farm it up. So that's my 2 cents on that. We did also get something very interesting to me. Cheating and appeals process. They've now moved over to this forum. So guys, if you guys see that cheating, like your GAC opponent is cheating, obviously my approach is always, hey, start asking some of your guildmates, like, hey, can you guys take a look at some of these battles? Do they look weird? Does it seem like something that's possible? Right? Some of your guys' guildmates might watch streamers or whatever, and so they might know, like, oh yeah, that Datacron is bugged. That is possible, right? So you're not throwing erroneous claims out there. But that being said, I would always err on the side of over-reporting rather than under-reporting. It seems like they're taking this stuff seriously again. Like, I don't know if there's been a uptick that they've noticed, but they did say that, like, in their old method, they banned more than 4,000 cheaters. That's always good. I don't like cheating in any game. Hopefully you guys don't either. It's good to keep the competitive spirit of the game good, and it's good to see that the developers are making that a priority. So that's a rare win for CG this week. Okay, so let's start getting into the losses, because they just really had a ton of losses. All right, this Apple issue. There was an Apple issue about, like, basically, like, you couldn't do purchases, and they, like, really made this seem like this was this urgent thing. And I know to them it definitely is, like, their livelihood is based off of the purchases that are made or whatever. It just is interesting, like, how their response time was for it. I don't want to be that guy that was like, oh, look at them, they only care about these things, like, look at how fast they fix it. But it was just funny, like, the way they conveyed this was like, this is such a huge deal, guys, we are really panicking over this. Would like to see some sort of also the same response time for other things, but again, I'm not the boss over there. That's just their call on what they do, right? Okay, then there's other thing, right? Like, Android seemed to be less affected by this. Though I did see some of them were getting hit with this. iOS was just all over the place this week. There was a thing where, like, if you had audio going, like, it would just crash the game. You had to, like, uninstall and reinstall, and I've seen some people had to do it multiple times before it ended up working. Then they also came out with a update later on, and then some people just could not, like, basically, like, it was just constantly crashing. The game was just constantly crashing. But that being said, within the update, big thing that we want to talk about here is Death Trooper Perdea. I think that's how you say it. He's now farmable. He's a dark side. He's right next to Night Trooper, so it's nice for me as like a reminder of like, okay, like I got to do that. Paz Vizsla also went to the accelerated characters, and I believe this actually happened a little bit quicker than it should have. I think that's maybe some sort of indication that Bo-Katan Mandalore is going to go into the journey guide, I think around December. So I think they just want to give people enough time to get those accelerated shards, right? Beck is still going to take a little bit of time, but I think they want to give people some of the time to accelerate shards. So that way, as soon as they throw in some that character into the journey guide, it's, you know, like there's a new wave of unlocks essentially, because I think they do want that character to be important. I think they do know that, you know, Kairatech are a thing, and that Bo-Katan Mandalore helps solve that, or at least helps alleviate the crunch. And then Great Mother is now available in Chromium packs and shipments. The two big fixes, there's a ton of fixes that went through. The two big ones that I want you guys to know about is they stopped the Rolo Sana interaction. So that's going to be a big one for a lot of people. That was how they were countering Jabba, Leia. Like there's a lot of different counters for that. So that datacron now, or that interaction that was being caused through that is no longer the case, right? So people are gonna have to go back to the drawing board a little bit. The other one that was also fixed was Moff Gideon. Now I was using Moff Gideon against Jabba on all 3v3. It was the easiest 57. You literally just like kept hitting the fourth ability, and it was just hilarious. So again, we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do for that. But they just fixed a ton of different infinite loops. And there's also one with Ethkoth that I wasn't really familiar with, but anyways, that one's fixed as well. And then now we get into when they patched this game, or when they put that update out, like I said, there was just a bunch of people crashing, even due to sometimes not audio issues, it sounded like. Although they have credited it to mostly the audio issues. They basically just said, hey, we're going to postpone the Marok Marquee event until the 8th. It's still going to run its normal 7-day course. And yeah, they're going to push out a hotfix, and hopefully it fixes it. I don't know if it has fixed, but yeah, that's going to kind of cover it for the actual, the actual news portion of this. I guess the last thing that I want to say on this whole thing, guys, is one of the last L's that we took as a community, but I felt like it was kind of pushed upon us with the game, with CG, was I play on PC. A lot of people are playing on PC recently. They kind of had a pack that's very similar to the one that's available in the web store, where it was just like, hey, open this pack, you get some free things, a couple like Omegas maybe, and then usually some sort of energy, whether that was mod, Cantina, or regular energy. And it was usually somewhere between, I think, 50 to 100. That no longer gives energy, and that's just a little bit of an L. Like I said, I hope it comes back. I'm not holding my breath though. I remember when the web store first came out, in order to increase the traffic there, they were putting out like crystals. They were putting out like some crazy stuff in there. And it feels like now they probably were like, all right, that's too much energy. We've given those PC players enough to like get them, playing on that platform. Let's go ahead and dial it back. I hope it's not true, but yeah, that kind of goes with that. Anyways, guys, gosh, we went through a lot of stuff. Let's go ahead and get into the story time now. I'm Ando 90. I'm in Ma Vanguard of Disorder. We are a 42-star TB guild. Just so you guys know, like what kind of currency I'm bringing in. It's usually 1,200, I want to say, crystals plus a bunch of currency. Been running this team. I've told you guys about this for a while. Same thing with Leviathan. And then with GAC, we just finished up 3v3. I went 5-4. Very normal for me to either go 4-5, 5-4 on 3v3s. And then I've been going about 7-2 in 5v5s. Just end up playing it more and being a little bit better at it, honestly. And so yeah, I'm 3782. I usually get around the 3800s. And then, yeah, like I said, that's usually once I start going 1 and 2 for those weeks. So I kind of get bumped back down. So yeah, around 3,800. I'm usually, hanging out somewhere there, somewhere in between 37 to 38. Okay, so like I said, guys, big thing for you guys to know is we got both now Night Trooper, and I'm at 28 out of 100 for Night Trooper, and I am now 29 out of 30 for Death Trooper. I've been doing triple refreshes. That's always the way that I farm, but just know that if you guys are going to do two hard node farms at double refresh, or sorry, the triple refresh, or whatever you want to call it, the 25 and the 50s, that's gonna cost you pretty much all your energy if you're just doing the 50s, which is what I do. But it's worth it because they are Galactic Legend requirements, and we can go see that right here. For Ahsoka Tano, she's gonna require both Night Trooper and Death Trooper at Relic 7. Night Trooper's close for me, but obviously now next I'll be waiting on Captain and Death Trooper. So yeah, that's sort of the long-term goal, though. We know that Ahsoka's not coming out for another 2 months, so we'll wait on that. The big one, or the interesting one, I should say, for me is going to be our friend here. I wanted to call him Ray Stevenson, but Balin Skull, right? So I did, before I showed you guys, I went kind of hard. I hoarded up like 33,000 some odd crystals. I ended up getting both Great Mothers and Morgan Elsbeth now to Relic 7. So I am like, 2 out of 5. Really, I'm like 2 out of 4 because of Marok hasn't released yet. Thrawn is an easy one to get him from Relic 6 to Relic 7, so I'm not too worried about that. So really, these are the two last ones. Now, I didn't do anything special with Shin. I did the marquee, and that was it. So I'm at 15 out of the 30 shards for her. Now, this is where things get interesting. So I'm going to move my camera so you guys can kind of see. So I think last time that we did this, which was a week ago, I was at like 12,000-ish crystals. Been able to save up to about 15,000. With Conquest going on right now, I've only been doing the 50s because I kind of got everything that I needed to get that first time around. I'm currently on Sector 4, right? And like I'm kind of done for today, other than like the couple battles that I got to do left. And I got like I said, I kind of got my datacrons last time, like the main ones. So this puts me in a situation where I want to keep 5,000 to 6,000 crystals, obviously, to get Punishing One. But I think there's a shot that like once Marok comes out, I might blow some crystals on him to get him up to like 5 or 6 stars and kind of get me closer, because he's going to be right like our limiting factor in this whole thing. Shin hopefully will go somewhere into nodes faster than the first release of Balon, but we're looking probably around 4 to 5 weeks till Balon releases. So not super likely that it happens, but I'm hopeful that maybe they expedite it a little bit. Because if that's the case, we might find ourselves in a situation where we can allocate more crystals into this as we win some GACs and all that other good stuff. Maybe we can get Balon Skull. Like I really do want him first time around. He obviously has some other stuff like the bespoke datacron and all that good stuff. It's not for that. It's just more or less like I want to see this team in action. I really like Balon in the series. So yeah, that's kind of like my plan right now, tentatively. And obviously all these troopers that are needed for Galactic Legend Ahsoka are still held back by Ezra, right? Because we're going through the current iteration, which means we still have another month for that to happen. But the timeline is going to be pretty collapsed, I feel like, or pretty truncated between Balon and Ahsoka. So that's sort of what I'm currently wrestling with the roster decisions. But I do feel like, I don't need this many crystals. I know we're not getting a capital ship anytime, like within the next month or two. So it feels like this is a time where, like, again, I'm really looking forward to just kind of spending these, trying to get ahead, trying to get that first time unlock. We'll see if it ends up happening, right? But that's just sort of where I'm going. So I know this was a little bit of a longer video. Didn't cover probably everything that I wanted to cover normally, but we did have a lot of news that I wanted to share with you guys. Like I said, kind of a bad week for CG. I think they would admit that themselves. Hopefully they can kind of correct some of these issues. Maybe we even get a make good. Who knows? Let me know what you guys' thoughts are, guys. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you guys in the next one.